Welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. And we told you we're going to keep sharing life experiences. We had to rewind this interview right here because there's some accomplishments, and we just wanted to redo the whole entire interview. Ain't that right, Sid? So we're going to welcome back who is now Dr. Rene Michelle to Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast, and her pain is a purpose. So we're going to will it right in. Rene, if you could come up and introduce yourself, and as you know, City Sid is going to kick off the first question.
Hi there, everyone. Dr. Rene Michelle. A pleasure to be here. I'm excited. I've been waiting to rewind this tape again. I'm really excited about being here again with you both. So you want me to just dive right in?
Oh no, we wanted you to tell a little bit, introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself, and then Sid gonna kick off the first question.
Okay, great. Okay, so as you mentioned, Dr. Rene Michelle, national advocate. Excuse the pantry back here, but a national advocate against domestic violence and sexual assault, and a survivor of both. I have a nonprofit which is called Pain to Purpose, and for those of you who know my story, you'll understand why I named it that, because I went through a lot in life, and I realized that I went through that in order for me to have this. This is definitely my purpose. So that's the reason why I'm here today, and why I have been doing everything that I've been doing for years now.
We're glad to have you back with us. So for those that don't know your story, we kind of just like to start from the beginning here and take it in stages. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, growing up. What was your home structure like? And if you experienced any of the trauma that we are discussing in those years.
Yes, that's actually where my trauma began, was my childhood. As early as I can remember, I was about 5 years old, was molested by several family members. At the ages of 11, 14, and 26, I was raped. But in my younger years, that's as early as I can remember, was being sexually molested by several family members. So did you want me
I'm about to dig in. I'm sorry, I was come off mute. Yeah. So I want to ask Rene, 5 years old, they say that's a big stage of when kids, like through the young age, remember, and sometimes not remember, they remember, but sometimes it could be vague. But you remembered starting at 5 years old. Can you tell us a little bit about how you were put in that in the situation, or coerced into that situation?
Honestly speaking, I don't know. I actually felt like at that time when it started, it was, after a little while, it becomes normal behavior because you don't know any better. You're a child. You're not supposed to be knowing about sex. It happens, and then it continues to happen. And the only thing you know is that, it doesn't feel right, and I used to wonder as a little girl, like, does any other little girls have these secrets as well? But I didn't know that it wasn't right. I just knew it didn't feel right. And it continued until I finally decided, no, I'm not doing, allowing anyone to touch me again without my permission.
Now, did you live in the type of household where, it was made easy for these things to happen? Like, how protective and on guard were your parents or, your parental figures, was a safe environment actually, and things just kind of slipped through the crack? Like, how was this able to happen to you?
Well, actually it was, I'm a second generation domestic abuse survivor. So I grew up watching my father abuse my mother. And so my mother had 5 children. So, she didn't have, she's busy dodging fists and trying to prevent herself from being a victim. So I can't blame her, for not seeing the signs or anything like that, because it was 5 of us and I was the baby girl. So, it was just to the point where she, is no handbook or anything on being a parent. My dad was never there. He played in a band. He was always gone and doing whatever he did. And my mom, like I said, she just did what she could. So she didn't know. And of course, as a child, you're told, you better not tell or else, whatever the case may be. So you just don't know. And that's how it went. And, I just held on to everything that had happened to me for years.
Rene, I want to ask, was your mother's abuser your abuser?
No, my mother's abuser was my father.
Okay.
My father abused my mother for 17 years, and we were there to hear it, to see it. I was right in the next room. And, it was traumatizing as a child. And, so during those periods, it was so much going on between the domestic violence and hearing my mother screaming in the next room and glass breaking and all this, it was just literally like a nightmare. And I just remember, just being in my room under the covers, like, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I literally used to wet the bed because it was so much trauma back then.
Now, did your dad ever abuse y'all, or was just your mother?
He just abused my mother. And this is, as I mentioned, I'm the baby girl. So whenever he wasn't out playing, as a matter of fact, he would take me to band practice with him. I would cry and he would take me with him. The thing about my dad, he was a horrible husband. God rest his soul, but the truth is the light. He was a horrible husband, but he was a great father. So he treated his kids like gold, and he treated my mother really bad. And I would pray, as a child, I would just pray that my mother would just leave him, and then, we can get visitation and see him. He treats us right, but I didn't want my mother to suffer, so I would just pray to God that one day she would just finally just leave him. And at some point, eventually she did. When I was 10, she finally left.
And how did that affect you? And was it, negative or positive or a mixture of both? How was that working out for you?
It actually was a little bit of both. It was good because I was happy that my mother was safe. I was happy that my mother was no longer dealing with the abuse because she didn't deserve it. And then on the other hand, I had to, it was like once I left, the abuse, got a little worse for me. And on top of that, like I said, I was a daddy's girl. So when I left, I no longer got to see my dad, because when we left, we ended up moving somewhere that was foreign to us, because I'm from the country. We had a farm. My grandparents had a farm, cows, horses, and we ended up moving to Washington, D.C. Never seen, a rat in real life other than on the cartoons, never saw anything, like it was just like mind blowing to see all of this. It was, again, traumatizing because it was a change, a drastic change. And when we moved there, we ended up going to the House of Ruth, and we ended up we weren't able to use our names or our real names or anything. We were hiding from my dad. So yeah, it was a drastic change.
So the shift being a drastic change, that's almost like witness protection. I don't think a lot of people know. What was it like moving from a country life into pretty much protection? What were the challenges for you?
It was devastating to me. It was devastating to me because I was used to, despite what I went through as far as growing up, dealing with the abuse and everything, it was still traumatizing to me because at the end of the day, it was a different, not a culture. It was a different environment, totally different from what I was used to. And I had to deal with that along with everything else that was going on in my life. And then the fact that I was not allowed to see my dad. So it was mixed emotions. It was mixed emotions. And every day I would literally ask my mother every day, when are we going home? Because I wanted her to leave my dad, but I didn't want her to leave everything, all of my friends and all my family members and everybody that I knew. So I was hoping we moved, like somewhere in the same state, in the same county, but that didn't happen. She did what she needed to do for herself, for her protection. And I'm glad she did.
Now, how was that all kind of affecting you as far as like, school, academically, socially, back before you moved, did you have, friends or were you mentally comfortable with maybe confiding in anybody? Like, how was that situation for you?
Well, I mean, I had friends. I mean, our neighborhood was like really close knit. And I had friends that I played with regularly, I saw regularly and everything. And once we left, it was like my whole world shut down. I was doing good in school prior to that, despite what was going on. That was one of my safe havens. That and the library was one of my safe havens, school. And once I left, I didn't think about school. I was there physically, but mentally I would daydream about my dad and think about, I would just basically be there and physically, but not mentally there.
So did that affect you academically? Did you go through any type of bullying? Or what was your socialization skills in school?
Well, yeah, it affected me tremendously, like as far as my academics, and I did get bullied because, like I said, I'm this little girl with these ponytails, and everything. I don't look like I'm from DC. It was obvious that I was country. So, I'm coming to this big city, and of course, they had bullies way back then. So yeah, I got bullied, and I ended up having to fight one of the baddest bullies, and nobody messed with me after that. But I wasn't the type, I was shy and quiet. I basically used to walk around with my finger in my mouth, and people used to have to take your hand out of your mouth. That's the type of personality I had. I wasn't very social with the people that I was close to. But other than that, I was shy. I was a really shy young lady.
What was the circumstance around kind of the first issue you had with sexual assault? How were they able to get you alone? How did it go undetected? What were the circumstances around the abuse?
As I mentioned, it was close family members, so it wasn't one or two people. It was several. And whenever we would go to a family's house, it would happen when people weren't paying attention. It happened in my own house as well. When, like I said, my mom's there, but she's not there mentally 100% because, she had a lot on her plate. And I was just one of 5 children, and we were all a year apart, maybe 9 months, some of us apart. And, she mentally just was not there to see it. And I had to make sure I hid it, that, because I didn't know if I was going to, because that's what I was told, you're going to get in trouble too, if you, that type of thing, if you say something or whatever. So that's why I just was quiet. I never brought it to anyone's attention. The closest that I got to speaking about it without fully speaking about it was my 2nd grade teacher. And I want to talk about that later. I just did a children's book. It's called The Little Girl Who Finally Found Her Voice. I just finished it, and it speaks about, share some of my story and how my teacher, Miss Thompson, she saw a change in me, when these things started happening. And because I was, like I said, I had friends in school and everything, and I was happy for the most part. And then all of a sudden, when these things started happening, she saw the difference. She saw a change in me, and she had a conversation with me, and it was pertaining to something about a bird in a cage and everything. And she was like, asked me how I felt. Well, that's what it was. She asked me what was going on with me and how I was feeling. And I drew a picture of a bird in a cage. And from that point on, she had said something like, like if you just say what, release or whatever it is going on with you, you'll be able to fly and you'll be free, something to that extent. And that was the closest that I had ever gotten to mentioning anything that was going on with me.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. How do you think, well, no, let me go into that. How were you told, or I guess how did your teacher interpret your picture, or how did she determine that, it kind of meant something deeper was going
on? She didn't know exactly, of course, because I didn't tell her exactly what was going on, but she knew that she paid attention. She paid attention, and she noticed the change in me. It was something that, my family, not taking anything away from my mother. By the way, I just lost my mom August the 9th from colon cancer, and my mother was a great mother. She did what she could to provide for us, and she was just the best mother, actually. But as I mentioned, there's no handbook on how to raise your children, and she didn't know. But as I said earlier, my teacher, she paid attention. She saw that change in me. And that's why she, she said something. And I don't know if she interpreted it like it was something, if she could ever imagine that it was as deep as it was, but she did see that change in me. And she spoke on it.
I want to ask Dr. Rene, going through all of this and going through molestation at home. How were you combined with the bullying, molestation, just everything going on? How were you able to kind of navigate through school and just society, period? Do you feel like you were having depression or stress at a young age, and now that you're older, you realize it?
I definitely know that I was definitely going through trauma. I didn't know what trauma was then, of course, but I know now that I look back that that's what I was going through, trauma. And of course, back then, you don't know how to deal with it. You don't know who to talk to or what to do. So, like I said, the library was one of my places where I would go and I would listen to my headphones, and read the stories while listening to my headphones, and I would escape mentally and just pretend I was not where I was at the time and just my mentally escape everything that was happening and going on with me. And that was my medicine back then. But I don't recall. I do honestly, I was depressed. Now that I think about it, I definitely was depressed, but I was too young to even know what the word meant, but I definitely was. Now that I really think about it, I was depressed, and yeah, I was definitely depressed back then.
Was there any urge at all to, share what was going on? Did you feel like you were scared and bringing it up, or scared of others' reactions? What kind of made you hesitant about, being able to share that with someone?
I was hesitant because I was always told, if you tell, you're going to get in trouble if you tell, and it was like from the beginning, I was sworn to silence, because I was threatened, not threatened for my life, but I was afraid that, I didn't know how I was going to go because it was told to me that I better not tell or else type thing. So I just never told.
And it's tough and this is why I love the transparency. Is because a lot of kids don't tell, they don't say anything, and if they do, parents or adults don't believe them, and they protect the abuser. So I think episodes like this are very, very important, especially for the abusers to see this and those that are protecting the abusers, because there's an ever lasting effect that you have to carry on. And I tell people, no matter how much we heal, we still the scars are there.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I definitely I do a parenting class at the University of Maryland, and it's from the perspective of a child that was abused. And the parenting class is either you can get credits for it or you are sent there through the courts. And I share with in the majority of the class are men. I share with them, for one, pay attention to your children. Pay attention to your children. If you see any drastic changes, if someone was paying attention, I probably would have gotten help sooner. But as I mentioned, I can't blame my mother. My father was who he was. He was in the streets. And my mother was, mainly our sole provider. I mean, as far as taking care of us, being there, I can't blame her because she was fighting her own battles. So I just look at it like, regardless of what, if you are going through any of this, if you see your child it changing in any type of way. Like I was this sweet, innocent little girl, and then I just became withdrawn enough for my teacher to notice it. But that was because she was paying attention. So that's why I tell all the parents, and I'm telling everyone today, pay attention to your children on every level. If you see a change in them, something that you're not used to them doing or used to them acting a certain way, you speak up, you say something, you're their parent. Or not even just that, if your child doesn't feel comfortable and you know that your child isn't comfortable talking and discussing things with you, have another family member talk to that child, whoever they feel comfortable with it. But they definitely need to talk to someone in order to get that stuff out of them, because I don't want any child, I don't want anyone ever to go through and to carry what I had to carry from the age of 5 up until I finally decided to speak out in 2012.
So what was kind of next for you, after that happened? What was your kind of out? How did you, get out of the household? What were those circumstances? And then, I'm sure that kind of made you a little green about life and about people and, kind of what to expect from people. So what was your next step after, leaving home?
Well, actually, it went from being molested within the family to being raped by a stranger at 11, so at that point I'm like, okay. And this situation was brutal. I was brutally raped by someone that was invited to our house. A family member asked me to let them in. We were new in the neighborhood, new at the schools, everything. We had just moved there, and this family member invited someone over. The family member told me to open the door for the person. When they got there, for whatever odd reason, we were there alone, myself and the family member. And I'm watching the Flintstones, 11 years old. And I opened the door for the person. When they rang the doorbell, I let my family know that they were there. And I'm sitting there watching TV. And the next thing I know, this guy, now mind you, this guy's around the same age and maybe a little older than my family member. My family member was about 15 or 16, and I was 11. So within a few minutes, he just got up. And mind you, my family member, they never came out. I don't know what they were doing, but they never came out of the room. But he jumped up and he came over and grabbed me and he ripped my shorts off and he brutally raped me. I mean, brutally raped me to the point where after he left, he didn't even wait for my family member to come out. I guess he accomplished whatever goal that he planned on doing. I don't know, but he didn't even wait. He left. After he did that to me, he left, and I'm screaming, yelling, for help or whatever. I go into the bathroom. I get into the tub, and the tub is just full of blood. I can't say anything. I can't say anything. I just did with that what I did with everything else. Because now, if you tell, then you're the one open the door and let him in. And then on top of that, I didn't want the other, it was always me thinking about everybody else. So I should have been taken to the ER. But I cleaned myself up and I never said a word.
I tell you, that's why this second episode is totally different than the first episode said. Man, I ain't know, Renee.
Can I say why? Can I say why? Because back then when I did The first episode, I'm healed. I'm healed from the domestic violence piece. I can say that I'm healed from that. But at that time, I was still struggling with the sexual assault piece. If you remember, I used to just say, I'm a national advocate against domestic violence. I was at the ages of 5. I was at the ages of 11, 14, and 26. I was raped, period. I left it there. I didn't really want to talk about it in depth. But I know now I have to. I have to talk about it. Because if I don't, everything that I went through will be in vain. And I do not want anyone to endure what I did. So that's why I'm literally saying what happened. It's not just 11, 26, and 14, and 26, and then deaden it. I'm telling my story.
Yep.
And, and it's necessary. And it's time. It's time for me to talk about it.
It is. And it's going to help so many people. So many. I want to ask, going 11 years old, that being happened to you, there had to be another change in you.
Oh, yeah.
Did your mom notice a change in you, or your dad? Did they notice a change in you? Did they ever ask what is going on? And then even in school, was there a change in school? And one last thing, did you continue to see the guy? Did you see him after he did what he did to you?
Well, at that point, this guy, not only did he rape me, but he started stalking me. And I'm in elementary school now. He would come up to my school and he would tell the little kids, now I'm new there, that did he have sex with me? Like it was consensual. So now I have to deal with the kids laughing and teasing, like saying that I'm, looking at me like ill, so I had to deal with that on top of I would go to the library, which was my safe space. And one day I looked up and he was standing in there staring at me. I literally was scared to death of this guy. I sat in the library until it was dark because I was afraid to leave out. And once I did finally leave, I ran all the way home. Fortunately, my mother, like I said, we left my dad when I was 10. 11, my mother had met someone else, and that's who we were living with. And that situation, it didn't last. They ended up separating, and that's how I got away from there. And my mother didn't. It was a change. I started dressing differently. Remember I told you, I had the little ponytails and all of that. I started dressing differently. I started wearing, like tight clothes. I wasn't that little innocent girl anymore.
That was actually kind of going into my next question. Did it that incident kind of make you hypersexual? Did it give you low self-esteem? Did it kind of mesh with feeling attractive? Like how, I know it was a lot going on when you are not even fully developed mentally. So, what kind of brought you to that conclusion or made you make those changes?
I always thought I was a cute little girl because of my dimples mainly, but then it wasn't even about being cute. Then it was about being something that I shouldn't even have thought about being sexy, and I didn't even know what sexy was, but I knew it was something going on with me because why do all these men want to touch me? Why do all of these people, why are they doing this to me? So I played into it. So I became a little more, promiscuous. But what I did was, and I wasn't out there having sex, all over the place, but I just changed. I just had a different attitude. And, a few years down the line, I met my kid's father, and I finally made the decision that I'm going to do it on my terms, and I'm not going to allow anybody else to take advantage of me. I gave permission at that point. But I did start dressing, differently, wearing tight shorts, tight pants, and showing my little figure, because at 11 and 12, I did have a shape, but I didn't dress like that before. And now you can see, how I was, shaped and everything. So, and I showed it.
Okay, so I want to go. We go 11, 14. You're put in another position. Raped again, and this is like a repeated. So you go from molestation to rape to rape. And Sid usually asks this question: what do you feel like people were attracted to assault you? It's just, it seems like they were preying on you,
right? And honestly, that's the question I would ask myself. Like, what is it about me? Like, what is it? And it was, I think for my age, I was built a little, I had big hips, and I was little, but I had a shape. But I was a child. Regardless, I was a child still. And at 14, by that time, that's when I finally was able to see my dad again. And I was raped by his girlfriend's son. They went to court, visitation. Nobody else wanted to go see him, but I did. So I went. And when I got there, the oldest son, who was not living there at the time, but he knew that I was there because he would call there and, ask to talk to his mom or whoever. And there was a 12-year-old sister, an 8-year-old sister, and a 9-year-old brother. And I was there for the summer, and we slept on bunk beds. I slept at the bottom bunk. The 12-year-old daughter, 8-year-old, slept at the top bunk. And the 9-year-old son slept in the living room. My dad and his girlfriend went out one night, and Daddy always said, if this person comes here, do not let him in the house. It was pictures all around. He showed them to me, and I'm like, okay, Daddy, fine. I'm in the room sleep with the sisters. Obviously, he convinced the little brother to let him into the house. He came into the room where I was at, and he climbed on top of me and raped me at 14. After he raped me, he left. His sisters on the top bunk right there. When he left, I'm crying and everything, and then his sisters climbed down and were hugging me and trying to comfort me and everything. And the oldest sister said to me, don't feel bad, because he's been doing that to me all my life. And at that point, all of the hurt and pain I felt, I just forgot about me. And I started comforting her. And she told me that he would make the younger brother have sex with the younger sister. So he told me, you better not tell your dad, because he's gonna kill me, and he's gonna go to jail, and I'll never see him again. Mind you, this is my first time I see my dad since I was 10 years old. So of course, I'm not going to tell my dad, because who wants their dad to go to jail? And who wants to be away from him any longer, any more than I had already been? So once again, I shoved it all down and left it there.
And that probably was why they were telling you not to let him in the house, because
That's exactly why.
It probably was already out what he was doing.
Right. That's what I assumed as well. Yeah.
I was just about to say, did in your discussion with the daughters, had they said that they told any of their folks or told their mom? I know why you didn't say anything, but did they tell you that they had made it known some way somehow and got shut down, or what was their situation like? And I guess how did everybody know this was a well-known fact?
I believe that I don't think that I don't believe that they probably told their parent, told their mother. He was a predator. I found out it wasn't just me and them. He probably molested several other family members outside of that household, and that's how the secret got out. That's how he ended up not being able to come to. I don't know. Maybe they did, but they never had that conversation with me. They just told me what happened, and then that was that. They didn't say whether they told their mom or anything. They didn't. We just left it at that, and that was just our secret. And that's how that went. I was only there for the summer.
They pretty much witnessed the rape or heard it. So I mean, they really witnessed.
They were right there.
Were they older than you, or?
Well, one of them was 12 and one was 8. They were younger than me. I was 14.
And no one never told a parent? None of y'all?
No.
Dang. Wow.
I definitely was not going to tell my dad. I know for a fact my dad would have killed him. My dad would have killed him.
Did you eventually tell your dad this happened to you before he passed?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He cried. My dad was in the beginning stages of dementia, and I was there taking care of him, helping to take care of him. And I sat down and had a conversation because his girlfriend had brought up the fact that I see how you're doing all this speaking and everything. And, I'm so proud of you. And your sugar pie is on the radio and everything, William. She was telling my dad, and he was like, what? He was like, Sugar, you doing all that? He was so proud. And he was like, so what are you on there? What are you talking about? And I had to break down and tell him, I'm talking about how I was sexually assaulted, how I was raped and beaten, domestic violence. And he was like, what? And I had to tell him, I said, actually, one of the people that raped me was, and I told him, and I've never seen my dad cry. I saw him cry when he finally saw us again. But other than that, I never seen my dad cry before. He cried. He sat there and cried. And I felt bad for telling him, but I felt like he needed to know, because certain ways that I moved, like I said, Daddy literally told me when I was there for summer vacation, he was shooing the guys off. He pulled a gun on one guy. I was like, come back over here for my daughter again. And this is what you get ready to get, type of thing. Because I'm walking around the neighborhood being cute with my little tight jeans and stuff on. And Dad's like, get your behind in this house, that type of stuff. So, as they called it back then, mannish. My grandmother used to say, stop being mannish and fresh and grown type of thing. So that's how I was looked at. Not just by several family members, like, oh, she's so grown and this, that, and the other. And that I despise that, because the same people that were quick to say I'm grown never once said, what's going on with you? You changed. Those same family members that was judging me never once asked, are you okay? So
I do wonder, when you stayed with your dad for the summer, with his new girlfriend, What was their dynamic like? Did he treat her the same way he treated your mom? And if not, how did that even calculate for you?
He okay. He didn't he did in the end, before I left, because she got to the point where she started being really nasty to me. And when my dad would come home from work, I would be in the room and he would come in and be like, "Sugar pie, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And I would say, no, I'm fine, Daddy. And this is the last time, right before I left, I finally told him, and he was like, "Don't ever yell at my daughter again." He was arguing with her. And before he, rather than him put his hands on her, he tried to leave. He jumped in the truck and he tried to leave. And she jumped on the door and was holding on to the door. And he pushed her off the door and she fell on the ground. But he did, rather than hit her, he tried to leave. So I did see that change in him.
I want to, Rene, I want to give you a big hug. I'm sending a virtual hug.
Appreciate it.
I want to go, and I know that's hard sometimes, just getting that out. I understand where you're coming from. It can be tough. Going into your you went through all this childhood trauma, from molestation, rape, bullying. I mean, just that's a lot for a child. Did that, going into your adulthood, cause you to attract what you knew growing up?
What do you mean attract?
Like relationships and friendships, abusive relationships. Did it cause you to attract? That we become a magnet to what we
right.
think. Yeah.
Right. Well, honestly, outside of my childhood, 5 years old, 11, 14, at 26, I met someone who was just a friend. Handsome, nice car. We were cool. Like we weren't connecting in any way other than he was attractive, I was attractive. We both found each other attractive, but we didn't have a relationship in any way. So I don't know if you all remember the Million Woman March in Philly, because that's where I was raised, in Philly. I went to move to Philly when I was 13. So the Million Women March, it was the weekend of the Million Woman March. And my friends were coming from here in Virginia to stay at my house to go to the march with me. And he calls and he says, "Hey, what's up? I just want I want to swing by and see you for a second." I said, "Well, I'm not going to be good company because I'm getting ready to have company from coming out of town for the march. So, I'll talk to you another time." He said, I just want to see you for a second. I ain't going to be in the way. I said, "I'm here cleaning." So, he said, "Just a few minutes." I let him convince me. I let him talk me into it. And he came over. I'm walking around my house cleaning. He's sitting there looking at me. Next thing you know, he stands up and he was like, "Give me a kiss." And I'm like, "What? Give you a kiss? When did we start doing that? We don't kiss, no." He was like, "No, for real, give me a kiss." And I'm like, "No." And I didn't give it to him, so he took it. And not only did he take that, he raped me. And this was somebody that I knew where he worked. I knew his boss. My mother and I used to go to his shop. So it just came out of nowhere. Like, where did that come from? Like, why would you do that? And after he raped me, I ended up going next door. My mom lived next door. I lived in a duplex. And I ended up going next door, and telling my mom when she opened the door, I fell right into her. I passed out right into her arms, and she ended up taking me to the hospital and everything. When I came to, again, in my normal fashion, I didn't say anything right away. I probably should have said something at the hospital, but I didn't. But afterwards, when I got it all together, we went to his job. I filed a police report. We went to his job. He quit. And my mom thinking, was it worth all of that? Was it worth all of that? And I honestly never saw this man again. And I think the trauma behind it, I remember he was fine. I remember he had a Legend back then. The car, the Legends was out. It was a new Legend. He had a nice car. And we were friends for a while. But I cannot remember his face. Exactly what he looks like. I just can't. And after that, it was like, I'm like, what is it about me that keeps causing these things to happen? And then for a long time, I'm like, it's something about me. Like, I blame myself. And then I'm like, when I finally, they say when you know better, you do better. I had to stop thinking like that because I did nothing. I'm a child. And even when I was an adult, I did nothing to deserve anything that I received. Nothing. And I'm going to say this. I don't care if a woman has a pair of thongs up the crack of her behind, excuse me. That doesn't give anybody the right to touch her. And I never dressed provocatively like that, like wear my behind out. I barely even wore mini skirts or anything like that. I never wore midriffs. I had a shape. So I used to wear tight jeans. My clothes, tight little t-shirts and stuff. But I never dressed like had my boob, breast hanging out. I never dressed like that. But it was just something about me that caused people to feel like they can take advantage of me, and I didn't understand it then. I didn't understand it.
Did you ever have anxiety about, him kind of disappearing into thin air? Did you ever fear that he would, come back, know where to find you? Anything like that? Did it kind of, heighten your fear around the whole situation?
I felt like if this man was crazy enough to do that and lose his job, he wasn't coming nowhere. Because we told him. We told his boss to let him know that I filed, I went to the police. So, I wasn't in fear. I don't think I was, because I think that he was afraid that he was going to get locked up, because I made sure that my mother and I went to his job and we let them know that he definitely did this to me. And he said, well, he hasn't been here since, right after it happened. He quit his job. And that was the end of that situation.
Yeah, I want to ask a really quick question before, because we're almost at time. I want to go on to really quick. You went into you went into another relationship from the last time we met, where he was a boxer from this area, and he was abusing you. And this is just prevention from it could be male or female that are going through abuse. If you can just talk a little bit of just about the audience, the impact of that abuse and the after effects that you live with, that you're going to live with the rest of your life from this abuse.
Right. Yeah. I met this young man. As you mentioned, he was a professional boxer in the DC area. Him and I met. We kicked it off. He was very handsome, nice looking guy, gentleman in the beginning, all that. And then eventually, about a 2-month period, I would say he started changing. He became verbally, mentally, and emotionally abusive to me. And then he physically started abusing me, to the point that I could not go to work without him. He scheduled his hours around mine so he could come and sit at my job to watch me. I managed a restaurant and lounge. If anyone talked to me longer than he thought they should, he would start a physical altercation with them. It got to the point where he got barred from my job, and he ended up coming up to calling my job to tell me to keep the phone off the hook, for one. And then he eventually started coming up to my job again and sitting outside of my job, waiting for me to come out. At this point, you would probably think I would see the signs, but because of the fact that I'm a second generation domestic abuse survivor, you would probably think that I would know, but I didn't pay attention, or I don't know. I just didn't see it. I actually, and a lot of people criticize when I say this, and I want to clarify this. Back then, I used to say I thought it was cute. Oh my God, he just wants to be with me all the time, and he just loves me so much. He just always just wants to be with me. I thought it was just, you young. I was in my 20s. He just really loves me so much. He just always wants to be with me all the time. I thought it was cute until it became very uncute when he started laying hands on me. And I don't say it's cute because I don't want any young lady or man or whomever to get the wrong impression about what I mean by that, because people have, made comments about that, me saying that it's cute that that young man did that to me. I thought it was cute then. I didn't say it. I thought it was cute, because I want the young ladies to believe that. I said it because that's exactly how I felt at the time. And then I ended it with, but it became very uncute very fast because he started beating me, putting guns to my head and playing Russian roulette with me to keep me in fear. He eventually beat me to the point where I ended up having 6 seizures in a row, ended up being flown to Baltimore shock trauma, died, and was resuscitated on the way there. And I suffered from grand mal epileptic seizures for 28 years due to severe blows to my head at the hands of him, my abuser. And when I left him, I ended up running for my life. And when I ran, I found out that I was pregnant. So right now, my daughter is 33 years old. I have a beautiful 33-year-old daughter by my abuser. So yeah. So it's like, this is what I want to say again before we leave here. I don't want anybody that's listening to my voice to feel sorry for me, because God knew exactly who I was going to be, what I was going to be, and what was going to happen to me the second I was placed in my mother's womb. And at this point, I don't feel sorry for myself, and I don't want sympathy. I know for a fact that God did not take me through all this, or I didn't go through all of this for nothing. My purpose is to help other little girls like Rene Michelle, so they don't have to endure what I went through. To help not just little girls, little boys. Little boys get molested. Little boys get raped. As a matter of fact, most of my abusers, which it was more than one, but that's another story. Most of my physical abusers were molested. That's what caused so much anger, I found out eventually. But I know God didn't blow air back into my lungs for me to just sit back and be quiet. So that's when I finally in 2012 decided I have to say something. And that's when I did. And I've been speaking and doing everything ever since.
Want to go ahead into your last question?
We're at time. Rene, I want to thank you so much again for your transparency. What advice from your personal life experience, from the things that you have been through, would you give someone that is struggling through, it could be molestation, sexual abuse, domestic violence? What advice would you give them to help them on their journey?
As far as what advice I would give them, whether is domestic violence or sexual abuse, I would definitely say to them to tell somebody. Because not only telling someone is not just to get the predator off the streets. Telling someone is for you to begin your healing process. I carried all of that mess. And I always would, I'm going to say this, I will always say, well, where was God? And I want to say this today, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Back then, I had a problem. I was angry with God. But I realized that God was carrying me, that 5-year-old little girl. He was carrying me through all of that mess, all the way up through everything that I had endured. So that's what he was. He was carrying me. And I would just tell them to speak to anybody, whoever you feel comfortable talking to, tell someone. Tell someone. And as far as domestic violence, I would never advise anyone to just leave. People have friends that say, oh, girl, you just leave him. Guess what? If I had just left, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. My cousin was shot 3 times and bludgeoned to death because she just left. So make a plan. So don't just leave. And definitely speak up when it comes to sexual abuse. Tell someone that you feel comfortable with speaking, about it. And get the help.
Well, we do like to give you the opportunity to participate in Shameless Plug. So you see all of our information, all of your information scrolling across the bottom here. If you can let our viewers know if they connected with you on any level, how to contact you, if there's any services that you provide that any of our viewers can utilize, if there's any things you want to advocate for, you want to put your nonprofit on the map, how people can donate to that. You have the floor.
Well, yeah, I appreciate y'all have all of my stuff up there. Y'all handle y'all do y'all thing on this show. I'm telling you, I'm so proud of y'all. I am so proud of you. I'm so happy for y'all. Like I mentioned, my new children's book, and God told me just go back to where it started from, because I was getting ready to write my documentary, just mine, like a compilation. And God said, no, go back to where it started from. So I started with my children's book, and I'm having my book launch April 11th of 2026. It's going to be, believe it or not, I've been helping the world, but this is going to be my very first event. It's my book launch and a sexual assault awareness event, my very first one. So April 11th, 2026. I need y'all in the room. Please.
I'm all for it. Just keep me posted. Let me know information and whatever you need me to support.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We want to thank you so much, Rene, Dr. Rene, for coming back, and just we captured so much the impact. I'm actually just sitting here, and I had to look the other way because it has me in deep thought. So I can just only imagine the impact on how you will touch someone else. Family will not stand y'all for this. Listen to what I'm telling y'all. But you continue to speak your truths, Rene, And for anyone, as Renee said, going through a domestic situation, speak your truths, whether someone believes you or not. Advocate for yourself. And you have advocates like me, Dr. Renee. It's just so many of us. And if we can't do it, we probably can refer you to someone else that can help you. And if you're in a domestic situation, like Dr. Renee said, create an exit plan. Create an exit plan. Move silently. Make sure wherever you're going is secure. And personally, I would recommend that you go somewhere where the abuser doesn't know.
Exactly. For sure.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes. So thank you, Dr. Renee. And Sid, we're going to keep sharing life experiences, ain't we? All right. So tune in each and every Monday at 8 p.m. ET as we can continue to share life experiences and hopes that someone will connect so that they can start their journey to healing. Unfiltered Unspoken, the fight for good. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube. Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. It's the U with greenish purple. Come out and support us. It's free to support us. And y'all have a blessed evening. Good night. Peace.
Peace. Bye-bye, y'all.